Hey Chris, how you doing this morning?
Hi, Ron. Doing great. How about yourself?
Doing great. So today's a fun one. We're going to talk about the benefits of a headless platform. Now that one's always been, you hear the terms headless, you hear decoupled, you hear all these different terminology, and I think everybody, for the most part's heard it, but they don't really know what it is. Now, for me, in simplistic terms, I always think of headless as when I look at a website, it's got a header and a footer, and if I can lop off the header and footer and swap out another head and foot, then I've got a headless platform. I know that that is in practice what sometimes can happen, but I know it's much deeper than that. So I'm going to go to the tech guy and have you kind of tell us what really is headless, maybe even what's the difference between that and decoupled, and what are some of the things from an architectural perspective that a headless platform gives us.
Yeah, great. Thanks. I think this is such an important topic. So, just to make it really, really concise, the headless capability and why it's so powerful, um, it makes it really easy to inject functionality without having to natively put it into whatever site you're injecting it into. And so that at its core allows you to, for example, with headless e-commerce, take advantage of the benefits of really robust e-commerce functionality within just a really simple website or possibly a mobile application or possibly multiple different sites that you may own or manage. And so this gets to another key factor with having a headless platform is the omni-channel capability and really centralizing all of your information and functionality in sort of one place, but being able to change the styling and the branding and even filter some of the content to match a particular web property or really channel that you're promoting this within. So again, it can be a mobile application, it can be an internal application, it can be different properties that you're implementing this on. So the whole idea, to boil it down again, is having these really powerful components that you can bring to bear without having to essentially build them all from scratch to match your solution, right, Ron? I mean, that's the big thing we want folks to get from this is a headless solution gives you turnkey capabilities with the total customizability that you want to be able to change the branding, change the styling, and make it really fit with your current solution that you have right now.
Yeah. And you mentioned a couple of things there, and for me, it really helps to say the words bidirectional. It's bidirectionally capable, meaning that I can take the platform as a whole with all of its functionality, like you literally just articulated, and I can add my own branding, my own styling, my own whatever. And that's kind of the headless. Or you said earlier in your conversation that I could take elements of this and expose it. So I could go over to a WordPress site and I could put a rotator of top selling products that has nothing to do with the e-commerce site over here, but over here on my website. Or I could go into a mobile app and I can say, here are all of the things that we have on sale or the closeouts. And I can expose elements and components of this platform in other applications. So not only can I bring my own application layer elements and styling to the platform, I can bring components of the platform and embed that into others bidirectionally. Do you want to share anything with that as far as architecture or API?
I think that was a great overview for this content, and that kind of gets into some of the other areas, right? That
Right.
important. Yeah.
So the four principles of a platform, and these are just the four principles that Ron came up with that I like to talk about. I'm going to fire each one and I want you to talk about them because I feel like they're really important. So I know the easiest way to look at this is it's similar to a spa, right? Like a single page application. We can take this and we can embed it onto a page. So I can take a Clarity e-commerce shopping page and I could embed it on a Drupal page, if I will. So if you think spa, it's really easy to understand how you could use and embed a headless platform into your existing website or dealer portal or whatever you're using. So the first principle is adaptability. Talk to me about why or what a headless platform provides for me as the user or the consumer of that platform when it comes to adaptability.
I mean, in a lot of cases, it allows the end user to have an experience that they're used to. while being able to change the branding and the styling, possibly even modifying some of the functionality for a particular use case. And to be able to do this in a very turnkey way is really key. In addition, I can use it again, sort of on different properties or different channels, hence the omni channels. So those are some of the key parts of the adaptability. Now, there are nuances to this with who you work with as your headless e-commerce or headless just general platform provider as to what the adaptability actually is. Like, how much can you customize it? And so that's probably a separate topic here for us to talk about in a separate video. But that is always going to be something we encourage you to take a look at. Do the features actually meet your needs? And can they be fully customized, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because if they can, then part of the adaptability is that it can be consumed by your partner channel, and then they can go out and start doing custom implementations using your platform for all of their different needs. And if it is that adaptable, the great thing is there are many uses, and that's the last thing we'll cover today is some of the uses for a headless platform. So the second one, and you briefly just mentioned it, is brandability. So talk briefly about the brandability.
This one's pretty detailed depending on what your use case is. So, of course, styling, logo, colors, fonts, possibly CSS framework, etc. And there's a lot there. At least being able to override some of the styling, if not change the CSS framework. But in addition to that, I would also say this can also get into a lot with communication and messaging, and some of the actual text that the components display, and making sure that you really can brand everything in a way that matches your business, right?
Mhm.
So this is both a capability statement plus a sort of warning to make sure you know how deeply you can customize the branding.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember we did a demo site just recently. It was just a few months ago. And I asked the team if they could spin something up, and it was branded for a client. And they said, "Oh, we just spun one up like yesterday for a client." And I went and looked at it, and all of the elements within our e-commerce platform, the buttons, the shape of the buttons, the color of the buttons, font, and everything were already different. And it was because it adopted the CSS styling of the site itself in that headless format. And it was kind of cool that so quickly, it could inherit the skin of the site that it was being embedded into, which was kind of cool. The
Agreed.
next one is mobility. Talk to me a little bit about the platform and its capability for mobility.
So this is sort of at the core of, why so many people really love headless solutions. It really allows you to embed this set of features in a really pain-free way and in different scenarios. And so that's the idea behind the mobility word here. And frankly, this allows for some of the componentry to be shown in a lot of unique circumstances. So you were saying partner sites, so we can share with partners a purchasing, thumbnail or tile that they can add to their site as part of an event or a promotion. And this would allow them to track and see whenever orders were made through their promotion link. But it would self-contain all of the features and functionality in a way that they don't have to do anything. They just embed and go about their day, which is really cool. It also allows for consistency with the parts that you want to maintain consistency around, even when you are handing out a little snippet of code. This can be really helpful for large organizations as well, because you may have different departments, different groups, again, different properties, different channels. So this could include not just, in-store kiosk, mobile device, web properties, but you may also have different companies that your group has purchased or are part of a larger organization. And so all of these scenarios apply really, really well. We can sort of accumulate like a Venn diagram, the core functionalities that are needed, and then modify for each of the use cases uniquely. But the core of it is retained, and everyone benefits from this kind of core functionality being similar.
Yeah, I remember when we did a couple of years ago, that was we did a marketplace, and they already had an existing partner portal where they had 281 partners, I believe, vendors that were in their network. And they would have this partner portal where they could log in and see certain information. They could share pricing, they could do whatever. And so we stood up this marketplace. And after we had built the marketplace and had the reports and stuff, they had us embed their invoices for all their orders and their bills in the partner portal. So every time they logged into the partner portal, a portion of our dashboard, like when you log into our typical dashboard, it says, here's your most recent orders, your most recent invoices. The most recent invoices widget, we actually had that embedded. So when they logged into their partner portal now, they could be reminded, hey, here's your bill, pay your bill. They could click and pay their invoice right from their partner portal. So
That's
I remember Headless really starting to showcase that mobility component early on. And I really enjoyed that flexibility, right? So the final one, and this one's kind of down your alley, is the resident rocket scientist here, security, right? Security is a big one. And I know that we've used the headless functionality of our platform for quite a few of our clients, especially when it comes to medical lately. So I'd love for you to talk about security and how we have used headless as an architecture to be able to help a lot of our medical clients.
Yeah, this is a great one because a lot of times the scenario where we're seeing headless come into play is a client is testing something, validating something, or they're doing something at a large scale. And, whenever you're testing or validating, you don't want to invest a lot of capital into a lot of robust security that you're having to self-manage. And frankly, if you don't have to, why would you? Even if you're operating at an enterprise level and really scaled up. And so the core tenet here is that with headless, the infrastructure and the software solution is not physically on the same environment where you're hosting it, like you're hosting a website that has a little e-commerce widget on it. You have a host for the website itself, and then the little widget is just a little piece that is embedded in the page. It's similar to an iframe in functionality, where, if you were to embed a YouTube video or a Google Maps, those tend to be embedded as iframes. And those do not have a security issue with your site. Just speaking generally here, they're not going to create a security risk for your site. They're hosted somewhere else. And all of the data that they sort of receive interacting with the user, they're taking care of that offline. And it's the same thing with headless. So the idea behind headless is we've got these external components that are embedded, and for the user's sake, they appear to be seamless, like part of the same, site. But from a backend perspective, it's actually separate and physically, off-site. So this makes it, by its physical nature, much more secure. The data that someone puts in, for example, if they're going through a HIPAA e-commerce checkout that has a headless e-commerce component where we're taking in prescription data, PHI about that patient, maybe they're scheduling an appointment and they have to answer sensitive medical questions, etc. We can take all of that and it will never be stored on the website where you're hosting that headless e-commerce component. So hopefully that helps. Basically, the idea is that the data itself doesn't live on your site or your property where you're hosting that component. It's all stored offsite, right, Ron? And that's really one of the big benefits here that we have with this security part of headless e-commerce.
Yeah. Yeah. The example I'll usually give my clients if they don't understand is on my phone, I've got the Chase app, and, the UI has the security element in it. So I bring up my app and I can see my account balances, but obviously there's no money, there's no information on my phone. It's all up in this secure vault up in the cloud. And I've got these tokens down here that are saying, hey, I've got this information. And it's the same thing with our HIPAA, right? So I can have a a non-secured, non-HIPAA WordPress site, but I can embed our HIPAA e-commerce. Somebody can come in on a WordPress page and order a protected or controlled substance, but the data is going back up into the vault. So think of it as like I'm using that app to take a picture of a check and deposit a check. The check's not going in on my phone. The check is literally going in up on chase.com software in the back end, and it's securely up there and being put into my account. And it's the same exact thing. So Headless works really well for HIPAA, secure, financial, different applications. So to tie this off, the last thing I wanted to do was talk about some of those applications and some of these uses, just so people kind of know where that is. So I'm going to throw each one of these out and let you kind of respond. How can Headless Platform be used for payment portals?
Oh boy. I mean, this is a great solution because like you were talking about with the invoices, I think a lot of folks want to be able to pay in easier and easier ways as they progress their business, or allow their customers to pay in easier ways. And the data ideally is seamlessly integrated across all of the different UI interactions. So they can make payments with headless components in a kiosk or point of sale system, a mobile or tablet device that might be at an event or what have you. And then, of course, your traditional portal or website scenario as well. So all of those could share the same component set and all talk to the same underlying data, and just allow the end users, be it your employees or folks that are, end customers, vendors, etc., to have access to these resources, right? Easily. So I think that's a great scenario.
Yeah, and for those in sales and marketing that didn't understand all the technical stuff Chris just said, like me, basically on my corporate website, I can have a link that says "Pay your bill," and they click on that link, and it brings up an invoicing portal that appears to be in the same website. So they think they just logged in, and they can literally pay their bill right online. And so that secure invoicing portal that Chris just talked about could be exposed as a simple login link on your corporate website. And now all your clients can go in and pay their bill. And so, yeah, payment portal is a big one. We see a lot of those lately. It's becoming very, very popular. Matter of fact, little sales pitch. You want to talk to me about a payment portal, please hit our website, and I would love to give you a great demo of self-service invoicing or payment portal, because that is probably one of our most popular headless implementations right now. All right, the second one you kind of briefly mentioned before, but I'll let you go ahead and talk about it briefly again, is the HIPAA portals.
Yeah, so this one, there's a lot of value here for the practical use case of the functionality. There's a lot of functionality that HIPAA specific clients tend to need with things like e-signature, appointment scheduling, questionnaires, intake, restricting product access within a catalog. All of that is great as a turnkey for HIPAA solutions, but you also have PHI. And so whenever it comes to the PHI data, a lot of clients are just not familiar with how this works, and they don't understand necessarily what the investment is. And it can be a substantial investment to be HIPAA compliant. So basically, you can have a turnkey solution that gives you the PHI data for the user to fill out and interact with, but the data is actually stored securely in a headless HIPAA e-commerce solution, which is great. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. The user doesn't really notice the difference. They're just interacting with a channel of yours, a website, a mobile app, etc. And you get the benefit of getting their PHI and having it stored securely, which is beautiful, right?
Yeah. So obviously you mentioned prescriptions and pharmacy stuff, which kind of leads right into the next one. What about e-commerce?
Yeah, I would say the same thing for e-commerce, just noting that in general, we see a lot of clients use this for e-commerce where they may have, a lot of really robust marketing that they're doing, and they want to turn on some form of commerce. They may have multiple sites, multiple properties, different scenarios apply here. They may have really deep integration that we're doing to automate things and make it really easy and self-service oriented. And so we want to bring those capabilities across their entire company and their different channels. So e-commerce is a huge core opportunity for headless for sure.
Yeah, and the great thing about that we actually sell quite often is a multi-purpose headless platform when we do that. So for example, that single headless platform could serve up a front-end B2C retail UI, online commerce UI. It could have a B2B purchasing and ordering element for the distributors and dealers in a dealer portal. It could have promotional items out on mobile apps and Facebook. There could be pay your bill online. They could, on their marketing site, it could say, oh, and if you want to buy this product, click here. I mean, and so you could literally have that single platform serve up and be used in 4 or 5 different applications and different target audiences, selling memberships over here, selling tickets to events over there, and selling closeout and promotional items up on the Facebook group, whatever you want, right? The next one is the dealer portals or the B2B.
Yeah, and I'll just say for these, I think there are a lot of unique circumstances where there may be a portal that's already out there. With B2B, there tend to be a lot of customizations that are made for a particular business workflow. And so being able to bring in a component that does a specific thing that's really, applicable to this one scenario, and having it be very seamless and self-service is huge. And being able to sort of like pick from this huge inventory of different features and capabilities and just insert where needed. It's really powerful for B2B dealers. It's a nice capability to be able to turn on, right?
Yeah. Well, and typically with our headless platform with B2B, it's usually paired with our Connect integration platform because the data that feeds the platform Chris was just talking about usually is coming from your organization's ERP, CRM, PIM, warehouse, inventory, things like that. So typically when we're talking about B2B, we're also talking about pairing that with our integration platform so we get access to that data and those automated workflows back and forth. The last two are very similar, auction and marketplace, right? So talk briefly about those additional types of platforms.
Yeah, so both of these tend to have some component where there are buyers and sellers, and there's some form of interaction that's going on there. And so that capability has its own unique set of features, right?
Yeah.
Many times there are going to be like different environments where possibly a seller on a site would want to represent some subset of that site's functionality on their traditional marketing property. So if you're a marketplace or auction site host or owner, then you may have sellers who are providing content on your site and transactions. Um, they may actually want to represent your content for at least their store and what they're offering, and make it easy for folks to buy through their own web property, which is awesome. So you can get a lot of user generated content that they then promote, which can help with SEO. And we can go into a lot of detail there, but this just can be a huge opportunity to scale and promote your marketplace or auction site by getting folks really bought in on promoting their stuff, basically, on their own properties. So really, really cool way to take advantage of headless. Any other thoughts on your end on that one as well, Ron?
Yeah, and again, it kind of comes into the modality as well, right? Because with the headless components now, you can have I can have a website like a ebay.com where I can log in and post things that I want to sell. But then when I'm watching an auction and I get outbid and I'm in the car and my phone pings me, I can hand the phone to my wife and she can go on and bid and up my bid and things like that, right? So there's different ways that the components and elements, especially when you get into bidding and auction and marketplaces that are unique to those platforms. So yeah, it's great to have that flexibility and the mobility to deal with the different modalities of communication, the different UIs and the different use cases for all that. So you want to tie us off? Any last thoughts you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I would just say that if you really want to take your opportunity to leverage very strong functionality to the next level, headless is a great thing to consider. Always, we recommend looking at where you're going to be going over the next 3 to 5 years with your solution that you're evaluating. so you can make sure that it has the capabilities that you're going to need over the years. And then finally, it is a really big spectrum out there with the different headless solutions of where they focus, what their strengths and weaknesses are. If you'd like to talk with our team about what your sort of problem is or opportunity, if you want to say it that way, and what you see as kind of your 3 to 5 year plan, we'd love to chat with you. We offer a no sales complimentary consultation, and we can help you just evaluate what solutions that are out there might be a good fit, whether it's something that we would offer or not. As always, thank you for watching. We appreciate it, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.
Bye for now.